we have people who've been doing this for a long time and have been doing it successfully. So we have several panelists who've joined us. So I welcome you all. I also welcome our moderator for today, Dr. Suma Singh, who's the coordinator today for moderator for today. She's from Mount Carmel College. We welcome you, ma'am. And over to you.
Yeah, thank you. A very warm good morning. I strongly believe that human history is going to be rewritten as BC and AC, that is before COVID and after COVID. That's the impact this pandemic is having on our individual lives, society, and the world as a whole. The COVID crisis has upset the accepted norms of functioning in all walks of life, and higher education space is no exception. When our colleges shut down in March 2020, we all were hoping that we would get back to a normal situation very soon. But it doesn't seem to be so. But the challenge that we now had was to ensure that our learning process does not come to a standstill. It's times of uncertainty and crisis that brings the best out of human race, and that's exactly what we are seeing today. The higher educational institutions have definitely risen to the challenge and at a speed which is unthinkable, and they have embraced technology to ensure that the student community does not suffer from a 0 year. Kudos to the teaching fraternity, who most of us are actually digital migrants, but we have still managed to shed our technological inhibitions, and we are all out there to take our classrooms into the students' houses. This mode of teaching, which is new, which has emerged because of a disruptive force, is a huge challenge to academic leaders and the teaching fraternity. There is other side of the story also, that as we embrace this new form of teaching learning, are we overlooking the fact about the effectiveness of this teaching learning process? What happens to the issue of digital disparity? And also, will this contribute to greater social and economic disparity, as this mode of teaching learning could be limited to a very elite section of your society? It is indeed heartening that educational institutions have used this opportunity in order to ensure that the teaching learning process is back on track. At the same time, it is a challenge for them to ensure that the quality standards are not compromised. So today here we are with the best of panel members who are out there to share their experiences in ensuring that quality improvements are maintained in this time of crisis. So welcome to this particular panel discussion that we are having today on quality improvements in higher educational institutions in the post-COVID era. We hope that the expert panel members will be able to shed light on their institution's experience in terms of what initiatives they have taken to cope with this pandemic, what are the quality improvement strategies that they have adopted, in particular with respect to the ICT tools, and of course the best practices. I strongly believe that knowledge sharing is extremely important in the space of higher education. And it's heartening today that we have academic leaders with us who are all out to share the knowledge with each one of us, as that will contribute in making our entire system a much more robust system. So to give you a brief introduction to the panel members that we have, it's indeed my honor to introduce all of them here. We have Dr. Samuel Linden, who is the retired principal of Union Christian College, Meghalaya. Sir has been a member of the NACPEER team. He's also a RUSA consultant for the government of Meghalaya, and he's also a member of the State Higher Education Council, Meghalaya. We are also joined by Father George, who is the principal of Salesian College, Sonada. Father is a member of the NACPEER team. He's an avid researcher with several publications to his credit. It's indeed an honor to welcome Father Dr. Victor Lobo, Principal, St. Joseph College, Autonomous, Bengaluru. Father is a multilinguist, and he's been spearheading a large number of initiatives in SJC, particularly in these times of crisis. We also have along with us the principal of Oxford College, Dr. Kavya Shri. Kavya Shri happens to be a winner of the Young Scientist Award. She's acclaimed highly for the leadership role that she has been discharging in her institution. Welcome, Dr. Kavya. Along with Dr. Kavya, we have Dr. Gayatri, who is the Vice Principal and the IQAC Coordinator of Oxford College, Bengaluru. Gayatri comes here with a great amount of research experience and teaching experience to her credit. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Syed Wajid, a microbiologist and a very active member of the IQAC in St. Joseph College, Bengaluru. Dr. Syed joins us with a great deal of experience, not just in terms of his own subject, but also as a member of the IQAC, he would be able to throw light on what are the various quality initiatives their college has taken during this period. So I would like to welcome all the panel members today, and we would start our session by giving it to the seniors to speak first. I would request the panel members to speak for around 10 minutes, and later on at the end of the session, we will throw it open to the questions from the audience. So to begin with, we will start with Dr. Samuel Linden, who was the retired principal, Union Christian College, Meghalaya. Dr. Samuel, it's over to you.
Thank you. Yes, I retired 2 years back from the college. So I don't have any more close link with the college or with the classroom or with teacher or with students. But I work presently with the RUSA, that is as a NAC consultant, going to the government colleges to help the government colleges to come up with the assessment so that they get some funding from the RUSA. That is my priority. So because in our state, I will give my experience is that I work basically with rural colleges, since most of the government colleges are not in the urban areas, they are in the rural areas. And it's a very big challenge for me as I work with them, because in this COVID-19 situation, none of the colleges are prepared. No, there was no contingency planned to prepare for it. We are just being caught by surprise, and teachers, principal, management, all are just looking for options. What could be the best way to come forward to help the students in teaching and learning? Now, to me, I have just come across some of the colleges that we are trying in the government colleges especially, and also non-government colleges in the state. That is this blended learning will become a reality now in the post-COVID-19, because COVID-19 has taught us how to come between online and offline, how to merge these two dimensions. So I think blended learning will become a reality, and then teachers training for ICT will become a reality in the post-COVID-19, and then having this learning management system will be a new norm in the post-COVID-19. Because without this learning management system, we will not be able to face the crisis later in other years if any pandemic or whatever virus attack us in the state or the country as a whole. And then we have to improve also on e-learning materials. Then we also have to have some collaborative works. And then one of the thing that has been a challenge to see is that in the system that we are in now at present is that the teaching community has come forward to be student-centric rather than teacher-centric. So they come forward to help the student. And this effort is very appreciated on my side, because I visit the colleges and they are doing something for students. Students are no more as a passive learner. Now they are active in the present situation. They are using the tools for learning, and teachers are trying their way out how to get things done for them. So this is a very challenging but very appreciating fact. And I would also like to see that in the state, we have this LMS, learning management system, because I think this will be a reality now, because in the post-COVID-19, we cannot afford to be in the same traditional way of teaching learning. So LMS will be one of the option that the Campus.Technology, which you are working so hard for all these years to provide ICT, IT infrastructure to colleges, will have the privilege to introduce more in the colleges regarding the LMS. Because in LMS, what happened is a software application for the administration, for documentation, for tracking, for reporting, for delivery of educational courses and training programs. Now, when we have this post-COVID-19, I think I would like to throw some light that Campus.Technology will come forward with this so that the colleges all over the country will be able to cope with any situation. Because as of now, you know, when we talk about, even when we talk about the NAC perspective, we look towards data. And for data, without the LMS, it's difficult to get data, how to create data. So from that perspective also, I think post-COVID-19 is helping the NAC preparation in every institution. And I do look forward that Campus.Technology will come up with some innovations regarding this need. And with that, I would like to sum up. If any other discussion takes place, I'll join them.
Father Samuel, sorry, Dr. Samuel, I would like to just put in a question across now. You were very right when you said that blending learning is going to be the future and LMS is going to be inevitable for institutions to adopt. But you also spoke about your work at the rural college level. So I would want to know, do you think the rural colleges have the ability to cope up with this drastic change that we are seeing, more so because this means there has to be a greater investment in terms of the technology platforms and also the eternal issue of connectivity. So how do you see our rural institutions coping up with this challenge?
I will give one example. For example, investment is number one, because you have to spend money to install the equipments in the college. Now, investment, some private college can afford to have it. Now, government will be a challenge for them. And government has a policy in this, like for our state. The government is, in the education policy of the state, the government is all out to help the colleges for this kind of infrastructure, to install the tower, or you may call it whatever, network, or to improve the connectivity in the rural areas. So I think it has something to do with the government policy. If the colleges come forward to bring the needs of the colleges in the post-COVID-19, for that matter, I think government policy is already in place for us.
It's heartening, Dr. Samuel, to know that the government is being, proactive in terms of ensuring that the infrastructural support is built, particularly in a critical area like northeast part of India. We would get back to Dr. Samuel later on as we take up questions from the audience. I would now like to invite Father George, who is the principal of the Salesian College, Sonada, to share his views.
Thank you, Suma.
Thank you.
I hope all of you can hear me. After Dr. Samuel, maybe in terms of distance from Campus.Technology and from the moderator, I'm the second furthest, and probably besides the age and the gray hair, that also justifies this early allocation of time. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, Father, you are.
Okay. Now, I will take the coming 10 minutes allotted to me to present before you, first of all, with my thanks to Campus.Technology, with whom I have association for nearly now 8 years, for from industry side coming up with this kind of webinar concept of bringing people together in education. And I think that is something very innovative and something very, let's say, almost like the CSR of the Campus.Technology company. We appreciate that. So we are in this new situation. I take on from what Dr. Samuel already mentioned. So let me put this into, since Suma mentioned about talking from home experience. You see, sometime early April, having heard that, nearly a month of on and off classes are going on, one parent sent me a message. I would like to know if the college management is aware of what is going on with regard to online classes. So I went into our LMS, I Googled on that, I checked on that student, went into the previous night's online activity, and I replied back to, Madam, your student is due to submit an assignment and she has defaulted by just 3 hours. because it was, supposed to be submitted by 11 o'clock. There was no more further query. Now, this brings me to outlining the phases with which we went about it. So March 14th, forest lockdown was declared, and on March 16th, 15th was a Sunday, and 16th we started. Initially, we said to the faculty, you see how you can connect with your students. Then we had our own tech team, with which Campus Technology head has himself, and Pooja, all of you are familiar. We had our online meeting, and we came to the conclusion that we need not just leave it, just like that, freelancing for each faculty to do, because we had already done some homework in terms of having our own ERP, and we had some experience with using an LMS 2 years ago. So building on that, why don't we bring all onto the same platform? So that message went out by March 17th to all, that everyone will teach as far as possible within our own platform. So now, second thing was preparing the students for this change and the faculty for this change. So we had the system in place, and the students were apprehensive about, whole lot of this activity. However, through constant, practically every day sending out messages to them, and faculty trying to connect, department heads trying to connect, the deans of departments trying to connect, we managed to get them to realize that, yes, we don't know how long this is going to last. As long as it lasts, let's try to do something meaningful. So that way, by and by, everyone came on board. So motivating the student was second step. Third phase was, from the kind of initial hands-on experience of trying to do something, how do we do that better? And here is where we had a training program for our faculty. And this again was in-house designed, and our tech team itself made 8 days of training. First, for all our young faculty, which we're usually having on campus anyway. Every year at the start of the year, we used to have a training program. So this time it was held online, and then for all the senior faculty. Now, so that made them also to let go of apprehension, come to realize the truth that this mode of blended teaching is our future, and that there is no other option than to get on board. So seeing the necessity, everyone in a way took to the training in a very serious manner, and that was something that was nice to see. This kind of an expertise building. Now coming to my point, where is the interface between? So, I mean, most colleges, we have our, let's say, the database management system. We have people from outside providing us various options of the learning management system. In fact, let me tell you, I had on an average, something like 7 people calling up from different parts, from Bangalore, Hyderabad, from Delhi, saying, we have the solution for you. And we used to cross-check, what is it that they are offering and where are we? So that we come to an informed decision-making. And it wasn't that, even within the institution, because always there's a difference of opinion, that someone is trying to push something. No, let's look at what we are getting. Let's look at where we are. How do we improve? I think this kind of an interface is where I think anyone from industry coming in to help at this juncture needs to be conscious of, and at the same time, institution being very sure about what kind of LMS will help the institution to move forward. I am myself on, the IQAC of some of our government colleges in the neighboring, in this town of Siliguri. So since just, and Dr. Samuel already mentioned about the divide we have in the country between the public and the private, or institutions like ours, we semi-private or semi-public. So not all are on the same footing. So different type of help is required. And definitely this kind of a confidence building exercise is something that is absolutely necessary for someone who is trying to start out and where they do not have, let's say, a faculty or a support staff or an office staff, whether it is a librarian or someone who is good enough with technology to take on the whole honors of LMS creation just like that. So we need help, and I think that's where campus technology is going to be of help to many. Now, let me come to saying, what is online teaching? See, we can give a lecture. So Microsoft team came by saying, we have 10,000, all your students can. And we have hardly 2,000 students, by the way. I know, for example, Jyoti Nivas College did their inaugural program with the Microsoft team. I mean, that's perfectly fine. And you have, or you have Zoom saying, like we are now, very good clarity. We can all listen. We can give a lecture. But the point is, when it comes to teaching learning and online teaching learning, how long is a student going to be listening like this to the best of lecture? So teaching learning has to have multiple patterns and modes of engagement, even if it is online. Just like we say during the lecture, there should be, let's say, discussion or activity-oriented teaching, etc. Now, this is where I think the technology provider is going to be assessed by any team that's already doing online teaching, like where we are placed. What's the new thing that you can bring us? Something that we don't have, or something that, this first point. Second thing is, even if we have the know-how, at the end of the day, the technology person is not going to do the homework for the faculty. The faculty has to learn how to, we are not talking about how to do it. We are not talking about primary teaching, where, entire classes may be available and you just put it onto your smart board and you sit and then you teach. No, you have to convert your, to get your learning outcome. So this needs the course design. And I think this is where we focused in when we came to the faculty enhancement or the faculty development program for online teaching, so that each one can create. And we looked at what edX is doing, what Harvard is doing, what WebEx is offering, and what all these, various companies within India are offering. And what is it that we can ourselves do with our own homegrown LMS, with, of course, support from open platform. So this is where we are, and this is what we have done. And with regard to student population, the disparity is real. We did a online survey of all the 800 students who wrote the examination. As I said, at the end of June, it was supposed to have been that we found some technical flaws. It was held in 2 phases. By first week of July, we completed. 61% of the students are using mobile phone, or a smartphone. It's only the rest that are having either a laptop or, now you understand, if you want to do real learning, you need to have something called a laptop. So now we are looking at how can we do some kind of a promotion of activity by which every student can have a laptop kind of thing. I mean, there's a limit to what you can play around with and do in terms of mobile. So, and how many have network connectivity, all these database we have. So these are things that I could share with anyone from industry who is willing to collaborate with us. And let me end with this word, that campus technology, and I would like to appreciate both Pooja and Sumin, who have been to our campus more than once and who have, in a way, been instrumental in what we have rurally placed where we are. My one campus is 6,500 feet in the eastern Himalayas on the way to Darjeeling, for those of you who have been here. And I just mentioned, as we started, we have our own BSNL, thanks to Government of India and the BSNL, our own tower. So we have even there the full network. And I just came down on 1st June to the Siliguri campus. But sitting there, I could see at the end of the day, all the 1,600 students, how many of them, how many hours operated online. So we have reached here, thanks to them. And thank you for inviting me, and all the best. Over to you.
Thank you, Father George. You actually highlighted the fact how important leadership role is in any higher educational institution, more so during a period of crisis. It is indeed commendable that your efforts were very collaborative in nature as you tried to bring all the stakeholders on board before you initiated with the whole online process. I completely agree with you on the fact that online teaching learning must be multivariant. Otherwise, it's just going to be the good old chalk and talk method in a new format. Father, in this particular experiment that you shared with us, you also highlighted the fact that a lot of children do not have laptops. How would you go about addressing that issue? Because blended learning is here to stay. So, what are the ways and means you're trying to ensure that these children also will be able to have access to desktops or laptops in future?
Thank you, Usma. That's a very interesting and a very realistic question. So we are trying to connect with our alumni, with the local population here, whoever is not using a laptop or a computer that they have at home. And we are trying to see how our technical team could get that and maybe do some repairs and give it back to a student in a rurally placed area who could benefit from it. So this kind of, we are right now exploring that kind of a way in which, beginning with that 4%, I said about 4% who could not do the exam online. So they simply had, they were called up on the phone and then they wrote the answers, they took a picture and they sent back to the teacher. So that way they participated offline in a way. So targeting them first to reach them, let's say our computer. So this is one thing that we are looking at. Thank you.
That's nice, Father, because finally it's a community which needs to get involved to help out the students and ensure that the learning process doesn't stop. Father, just a second question before I move to the next panelist. You also are in a region which is geographically challenged. There's no doubt about that. So in the future, as we move towards more and more of this blended learning model, how do you think this will ensure that there is greater enrollment ratios coming in? Do you feel that particularly in a Northeast region, we will be able to push the GER thanks to the fact that blended learning is here to stay? Do you foresee that? And also in terms of the best practices that you could adopt thanks to the pandemic learning, what would your experience be?
Okay, so my first thing is, you see, in comparison to real Northeast, where Samuel Lindam is located, and I was so glad to see him and without any disturbance hearing him, because we have been having board meetings of the IHA these days, and I know, and I was on like this for a couple of events of St. Anthony's College in Shillong. They do have, let's say, Northeastern issue. I think Samuel will be able to answer that part of how Northeast is going to address and how far government is going to invest in making connectivity better. Coming to Bengal, I should say that the situation is not so bad. We are, especially, of course, Siliguri and this North Bengal region, the difficulty is coming from terrain, depending where the student is presently located. For example, we have a radio station. So same like some places, they get the wavelength clear. So we're done for all the North Bengal universities, 74 colleges, for example, were invited to give radio talks. And we relayed those talks of all the different departments on radio, and it's still going on. So a student who cannot have, can also listen to those lectures, kind of, an alternative mode one. So this is coming to the other aspect of the best practice kind of thing. That is, how do you connect with the community? And the other aspect of what is going to be the future of blended learning, and parents, as I started with the story, they are very perceptive. It's not only a question of the money that they definitely have to put into the higher education, but of what actually is happening. I've also had another parent of a very smart student saying that teaching is going on, yes, but I think that my student can be challenged more. Right? Thank you, madam, for that intervention. Unless you people come back to give us the feedback on what's happening on ground reality, we don't improve ourselves. So having heard, I guess the word of mouth, students are the advertisement, you see. So we just completed the admission process. We haven't had any lessening in any of the departments. All the vacancies have been already filled up with the online interviews. So I guess what is happening is when students, parents know, and the community knows that you can't go to college, but second best thing is not to idle your time by simply sitting on the phone. And I've had students telling, Father, this is the best time I learned.
Yes.
So I mean, you have a kind of huge spectrum of it. That's it. Thank you.
That's very nice, Father George. It's, at the end of the day, the fact that all these efforts put in by higher educational institution is something which is bearing fruit is something heartening to listen to. And I do hope that your efforts pay off much more. We will come back to you, Father, later on with some questions from the participants. Now I move on to a different geographical
Yeah,
terrain, a
yeah.
different
Please.
setting. Ha,
Sorry
Father?
to interrupt. I had told Pooja and Suman that as I told you, our campus inauguration is going on, so
Okay,
I
okay.
will be available for another 15 minutes. Then after that, you'll have to excuse me. Wish you
Okay,
all the best. Great going. Yeah.
thank you, Father. If
Okay.
anybody, any of the participants have any specific questions for Father George, you can post it right now before Father leaves for the day. I now take you to a different geographical terrain, a different set of institutions which probably have a different set of challenges and which have innovated in a different manner. So here is moving to the institutions in Bengaluru, and it's a pleasure to invite Father Dr. Victor Lobo, who is the principal of St. Joseph College Autonomous. Father Victor, it's over to you.
Good morning to you all. Am I audible?
Yes, Father, we can hear you.
Okay. I'd like to base my presentation on two aspects. One is philosophical and second is actual. When it comes to education, the French philosopher René Descartes had said, cogito ergo sum. That means, I think, therefore I am. So human being is a thinking person. And institutions of higher education prepare and produce creative thinkers who become fountains of creativity and wisdom. You may remember when asked how the educated differ from the uneducated, Aristotle answered, as much as the living are to the dead. Hence, education is life. In 2015, we had International Jesuit Principals and University Presidents Conference in Melbourne. And we had with us Father Peter Blaise, the Jesuit Refugee Service Director, and who narrated the incident happened in Latin America, where when Jesuits educate a lot of refugees. They run university for refugees in Latin America. And in one of the convocations where he was present, he said, at the end of the convocation address, one of the refugee students came up to the stage, took his hand, kept on his heart and said, do you know what you've given me? He said, I don't know. You don't know what you've given me? He said, I don't know. He said, you've given me life. So education is nothing but giving life to the student. So we were to make a difference here, education for living and education for life. Education for living or training students for jobs is one of the minute, the smallest outcomes of education. Whereas we need to educate our students for life. They should be creative fountains of wisdom. When there are no jobs, life is in crisis, they should think creatively and find alternative solution. That is the aim of education. So, educating the whole human person, that's what we say. Education needs to create the burning fire within the marrow of our bones, which doesn't allow to rest and relax, even in pandemic, until its purpose is achieved. Hence, we need to have passion for new horizons in life. So we concentrate here, that I'm saying in philosophically, three ways: cura personalis in Latin, cura apostolica, and cura communitatis. That means cura personalis, care of the whole person. We educate the whole person for life. Second, that means our education doesn't become outdated because it's a creative thinking process goes on for life. Second, cura apostolica, care of the apostolate of education. Care of the apostolate entrusted to the educator. And third, cura communitatis. That means care of the community entrusted to this person, to the person whom we have educated. Hence, how in education there needs to be creative fidelity. We have to rise up to the occasion. So when the pandemic stuck and in Bangalore in March, what did we do? First of all, we did not lie low, rather we rose up to the occasion. We trained all the lecturers on various platforms, e-content creation, such as video preparation, uploading them, PPTs, online lectures, various platforms. And we trained them and they started with online classes. We had only had to complete some 15 days of additional classes for the semester. And they all completed the lectures online. Then, meanwhile, there was this migrant issue, and Bangalore is one of the cities faced worst migrant crisis. Being an educational institution, we cannot keep quiet. Hence, we came together with the Jesuit alumni of St. Joseph's College, XLRI, and St. Xavier's Calcutta. All Jesuit alumni came together. We started preparing kits, ration kits, and we catered to 1 lakh families, a kit enough for a month for each family. And this is what we all spearheaded this, but all done by staff and students. How to serve community. We have online, second phase of the relief is that even now the relief continues. We supply some food material to doctors, nurses, and also COVID patients in certain hospitals, so that this service is continued, and it's all done by our alumni. And the third phase we are thinking, COVID relief phase 3, we are planning to employ, skill and employ the migrant youth. We are planning a few lakhs of migrant youth to have community college type of training, skilling them and employing them. Then, what about our students? We have made a Google sheet passed on to them, and we know that most of them can have and do have access to online learning. And we do have online classes going on now. Our semester has already started, classes going on. Online exams are scheduled. And those students who are unable to have this access or difficulty with connectivity, we upload the lectures, they download, they can view them anytime. And we have also told them, when it comes to the offline or physical classes here, we'll train them on those students who are deprived of this will be trained. Then all the mentors are in touch with their mentees. We have got some 40 students under one mentor, and they are in touch with the mentees or students to find out what is happening in their families, because there are some students and families are affected with COVID, and therefore we do take care of them. We are in touch with them, and if some need arises, we are there to reach out to them. That is done by the mentors. There's also, for those students who are undergoing certain depression due to lockdown, we have got trained counselors who counsel them online. So online teaching, as I said, has become this pandemic, this crisis. Though in the beginning it was made to be lost a little, but later as creative thinkers, we rose up to the occasion and saw that we creatively use our time, energy, and facilities. Thus, education doesn't stop, but goes for life. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Victor. I like two of your points. One was the fact that it's education for life that we are giving, and it's not for living. I think that's something which we all as members of higher educational sector need to realize. That's so important. Thank you for that thought. I really appreciate that. The second thing is, as you said, was the fact that higher educational institutions, initially when we spoke, we all, the earlier two members, esteemed members, also spoke about how we have adapted to this pandemic change that has come about. We have shifted our entire educational mode of delivery. But I think what we have learned from Joseph's experience is the fact that you have managed to reach out to the community. Hats off to you. Being from Bangalore, I know the kind of service you've been doing, and it's been widely covered in media. So congratulations. And I think what was also important was the fact this was not just involving your students and staff, but the alumni was also there. This is exactly what we all institutions should be looking out. How do we bring alumni on board, not only during periods of celebrations and joys, but also during periods of crisis, because they have such an important role in terms of giving back to the institution and to the society at large. Highly appreciative of the fact, Father, that you're also looking at initiating a community training program for the unskilled migrants. So, Father, as you are expanding the horizon and looking beyond the regular teaching learning, because I'm sure St. Joseph's is very good at teaching learning, so you don't have to worry about that. But your focus seems to be more on the outreach programs. This is, of course, in keeping with the Jesuit philosophy. But how do you ensure that all your students come on board in terms of, associating themselves with this strong community outreach philosophy of your institution?
Yeah, we got triple aim of education here: academic excellence, character formation, social concern. And no student can get a certificate from this institution unless he or she puts in community service of 60 hours or 3 years in UG and 40 hours or 2 years in PG. So they are taken to various community centers across Karnataka, and there's a living experience in North Karnataka for the PG students. Our students go in Bangalore and teach in 20 government schools. They also teach the grave diggers children. They go to slums and teach them. They've got all cleanliness drives, green drives, various drives are taken up by the outreach center. And that community service is very much incorporated into the educational life of the student.
Absolutely.
So there's nothing but what we trained them here, they've gone out and done that. To tell you, during this COVID pandemic, a lot of our students who were living in some areas, they told us, see, Father, these families did not get anything to eat. Could you supply something to them? Our students came here, they went and supplied the material to the houses, and there they could not go because of COVID. These students of ours in the slums distributed. So that care of the community is going on by the students, even in the villages where they are.
Congratulations, Father, to the entire Joseph team out there. Father, one of the challenges with the online learning mode is how are you measuring the effectiveness of your classes in terms of the actual learning from the point of view of students? How do you measure that?
Yeah, there are various ways to measure. First of all, they're called CIA, Continuous Internal Assessment, wherein the students are assessed through assignments, to quizzes, to various activities. So they are made to go to library, use online services, submit assignments online, and also online tests are going on. So by this we know the learning is carried out or not. And students are challenged, in fact, challenged to learn. They're challenged to go to library online. They're challenged to review sources and submit online. Not only that, they can't copy from Google, because you've got a
True.
plagiarism software.
Plagiarism test.
Yes. That's why you've seen to it that students are really on their toes and do this work. And at the end of the day, I feel that they're learning. And they're
Absolutely.
quite happy.
You're right. Challenges actually bring out the best in each one of us. And I hope they are bringing the best in teachers and the students also. So, Father, just to add on to you, I think I'll invite Dr. Syed Wajid because he would be able to share some more experiences from your college. So, Dr. Syed, who happens to be an active member of the IQAC in St. Joseph College, Bengaluru, I would invite you to take over, please.
Sure.
Syed, are you around?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Suma. Father Principal has covered quite a lot of the practices that we already are, carrying it out. So what I need to reiterate here is what was the first thing which we started with was like an academic community was built up. The management are in constant touch with the faculty. The faculty are constant. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said that there was a kind of an academic community build-up, which was there in place, but now it became kind of more effective. So the management got in touch with the faculty during the lockdown, and the faculty in turn got in touch with the entire student community. Not only the teaching faculty, also the supporting staff. So this sort of an academic community building is in practice, and this came really. Of great help for us now during this particular lockdown, so which made us kind of strategized and structure it out as to how do we move from where we are. Okay, so the first thing that we started was like psychological help for the students, because during lockdown a lot of issues like might be what if they are going to be suffering from the disease, how what's going to be next. Then the other tension most of the students had is the examination tension. Like if it was normal, it would have been easier for them, but now you don't know when they have to write the test. Do I write it tomorrow, next week? Do I have to write a month later, or when? Or will there be any exam happening? So there was a lot of these stress that was getting built up, also a lot of anxiety with the faculty as well. So there was a requirement of the psychological help, which father did say that the departments of social work, not only faculty, also student pitched in, and there is online help started being rendered to the students and all of that. That's the first thing that was done. And then later the strategy was like we have to move ahead with the online classes. The lockdown, when it started, luckily we had completed all our portions for sciences, for humanities and commerce. One more week was left, so those were covered subsequently during like online classes and all of that. Now, what was the strategy here is like, if you have to make the online teaching effectively, so that means there has to be sort of, faculty being, developed for this usage of the ICT. We had ICT in place even before kind of lockdown. All students were on various groups, like, the WhatsApp group. All the examination and all used to happen online. Like, they used to get timely their marks, their open elective selections, or whatever it could be. It was happening more through the software. So most of them had say phones or laptops and all of that. So that was a little, and also students were a little trained for using such things. So that came in kind of a little handy. The next thing was, as I said, the faculty had to be trained. So a lot of faculty development programs were conducted where resource person were invited. One good thing here is the resource persons were not from the outside. Our own faculty were the resource person who trained us how to use better ICT technology. That was one good thing. Second thing is also a few of our faculty attended a lot of these webinars and all of that. They got trained there, and they in turn came and trained us again to make the best use of the ICT enabled technology. And after which we just kind of started our classes and all of that, and we are quite happy about the way they're kind of going on. So as you also asked a question about like the assessment part of all of those, the blended learning that's kind of happening, there are a lot of softwares freely available where during your online session you can also bring them in. For example, like you have a lot of this ed puzzle, such sort of tools, and menti.com. So we try to also amalgamate those in between our online teaching, so that we ensure that there is active learning that's kind of happening. It's just not like I open the slide and a PPT and just talk about them. So in between, keep checking if they're responsive or not, and if there is kind of an active learning that's kind of happening. So that is something that we have started with. All our admissions happen online, so a lot of happiness that we could see from the parents who came online with their warts to be a part with us in the newer journey and all of that. They also are very happy and supportive towards this online, because there's no other go now, because this is the only thing that we have as of now, so that we can do it. And yes, as father said, we have started with online classes. All our lectures are being recorded during the same time, which is also going, they are being deposited. Student any time point, they can go back, check the lecture, and then keep going. I've also got the feedback from the students, and they kind of thank a faculty and all that, the job that whatever we are doing is good. Not only what we teach now online, the videos are of great help for them because of the connectivity issues and all. If they are not able to be a part of the lecture, they go back, check again and again, and they say that the understanding is getting better and the best. And also what's happening with them is because now it's becoming like one-to-one. Though virtually you might not get to see who else are there on the other side. What they would see is, now I'm speaking, you could see me live, and each person is listening to me. So the effectivity, the concentration is what I speak and the other person listening is more, which might not be happening in a kind of a normal classroom where a lot of distractions might come in. So the students are also happy. This is something like, there is a lot of one-to-one interaction is what's sort of happening. So they would also, in between can ask questions and all of that. So this is something that, is kind of happening, and we're happy about what's happening. And also we are aware of, what should be the next and how to make things more better and the best. So the process is ongoing. So we just have to wait and see where this COVID is going to take us. NAC and all others were stressing a lot on the ICT usage, but this COVID has made us all more educative about the ICT. I think most of us have really learned. All of us were running away from the ICT enabled technology, but this has made all of us, computer literate and technology literate. I think that's what I wanted to share before you.
You're absolutely right, Wajid, on your last point that we all had our apprehensions about ICT, and we were clueless in most of the time as to how to answer that question on ICT. But the situation has really pushed all of us, and we all seem to have embraced the ICT pretty well. As you said, it's commendable the way Joseph's has managed to move along with the crisis, and also move ahead, if I may say so. But I had two questions. The first one was, what happened to the placements? Because I think one of the challenges which our children of the final year batches of last batch were facing is, because we couldn't complete our end semester exams, the placements were on hold. So what strategy did you adopt to ensure that the placement process did not go off track?
Okay. One good thing is, again, yes, all those companies who came for placement, some of them, they kind of continued with the placement. Now, that's a little on hold. The reason is, like, most of them would place the students after they complete a particular program. So some of them have reassured that yes, those positions are still on hold till the student kind of graduate their programs and all are going to do it. And our placement officer also has come up with a lot of newer strategies and all. They have kind of geared up again, and they have approached a lot of other companies where what you need to do is, like, as a microbiologist, we normally learn a kind of pathways. You have to just look for a kind of bypassing mechanism. I'm just following a path. I know there is some sort of obstacle. I can't wait there for too long. I just need to look for a bypass mechanism. So the PRO or say the placement officer and the team are working a lot on it. They're still, it's kind of at, I would say, infancy, because strategies have come up. They have now also looked for various other company where they can look for students who can do a lot of these online jobs. So a lot of jobs again have created because of this COVID, where I'm a science graduate. I know a little bit of kind of knowledge and all of that. I can read the reports and all, and I can do any of those. And there are a lot of, again, commerce students and all of that. Only thing is, when you have begun with, you would have thought this would be the outcome of a particular program, but now we have to look what other outcomes that would come out with the sort of program. So we just need to be a little strategically handling all of these. Only time can answer, and this has made us think a lot, whatever beyond our capacity.
You're right, Wajid. Wajid, there's been, I think, 2-3 questions which have come up, and given the fact that you are from a science background, although Father George has answered to a certain extent, this is regarding about the laboratory experiments, because this is a huge challenge for science streams. How are you coping with that?
Okay, so one good thing, again, as I said, like, this has really taught us, go beyond our capacities. Now, my teaching the online theory classes, that I, or rather we are doing, there is a lot of practical approach to my theory itself, first of all. Okay, so where I just talk about a particular process. Now what I try to go is, I also get the result that I would get it out of a process, and I place those results before the student and say, these are the results that you get with your process. And I kind of a question, how would you analyze these results when you get these results? There is a process here, there are results here, you have got the results. How are you going to analyze these results? So, in your theory classes itself, you can, brainstorm the students such a way that, whatever results that they get, they can analyze at the same time. So we are also planning, a kind of a virtual lab. If things are going to get a little more relaxed, where at least we faculty can go onto the labs and all of that, I can go and, just like how the Zoom, I can just open my laptop there. Before them, I can demonstrate certain experiments and all of that. Yes, what is required is hands-on, but now at this point of time, we can't give them a hands-on. At least there has to be a try where I can make them understand the concepts a little more, and once they come, I don't have to hand hold them. They would carry forward even with a little time, because the concepts have got very, very clear. So what we need to be emphasizing here, get the concepts very clear, teach them what can be done as of now, and once things gets relaxed, we can do it. We also might be planning, like this semester we might not have practicals because of all of these things.
True.
But second semester you can relook at your thing where it can be more of practical oriented in the second semester.
Yes.
So these are some strategies that we have thought of, and yeah.
Absolutely right,
Right.
Vajid. Virtual labs may be what we should be heading to. And as you said, there is a need for a certain amount of flexibility in the way we are operating. Vajid, there's a question for you from Megha Upadhyay. I'll take up that question before I move to the last panelist. Please let us know different applications or softwares used to keep track of students and their presence during the lecture.
Okay, so as I said, in fact, I personally, what I use is we use Microsoft Teams for our all lectures and all of that. I start with the class, and the initially itself, what I would do is in the previous class I might have done this. Menti.com is what I use. It's kind of very, very user friendly, and I also tell students to use this. I would just give a sort of a quiz question based on my previous classes, and I would start my class with that. So I have 30 students there. That means I'll have to get 30 responses from them. So once I give the questions, I get to know as to how active each one of them. And I would do this not only at the beginning. I would start with, say, 15 minutes of my class, and then I would give this sort of a quiz. Again, a 15 minutes of a class, I give this sort of a quiz. So that makes me engage the students. And not only that, the answer that I get, if the answer says all giving 70 and above are giving me the correct answer, that means they all are following whatever I'm kind of teaching. That's one way to do it. And there are also softwares like Flipgrid, which is like you can just give them an assignment. It's a kind of short video that they're going to do it, and then with that question in mind, what they do is a short video of 90 seconds. They would make that, and then they mail it back to us. So the next class of mine, I just start with that. I just press on the video. All of them can see what answer this particular student has given. So these are some of the blended activities that we are practicing all across our kind of college, whatever suits the best for what I'm teaching, and it's kind of just goes on. And again, in between, we are also conducting quizzes through Microsoft Teams itself, and these somehow this is what, and podcast is another thing that I kind of use it also. So it's a audio thing. My whatever concepts I little have, make a podcast and send it to the students and all of that. Some of the things that we are doing it here.
Vajid, I think the common fact is that we teachers have to become now learners and students. That is what is needed. Only then can we
That's
ensure.
what I just wanted to tell. We are more learning in the learning phase rather than teaching phase.
Absolutely. And that is what finally will ensure effective learning for our students and contribute to, quality improvements in our institutions. Unfortunately, Dr. Kavya Shri, the principal of Oxford College, was unable to join us, but we have with us the vice principal, Dr. Gayatri. So Gayatri, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Suma. See, I come from a different background. I mean, our college is not an autonomous college, or it's not a deemed university or anything. We are affiliated to Bangalore University. So when the lockdown happened, we were in a different scenario. Most of us who... Hello? Can I continue?
Yes, Gayatri, you're audible.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what had happened, like most of the autonomous colleges, they were conducting their practical exam, but our college had started only after January 15. So we had just started and our PG classes just started in the February 2nd week. So when the lockdown was announced, we had just completed 1 month of regular classes and hardly some 5 experiments were done. So on March 23rd, when the lockdown was announced, we were thinking how to go about it. So only one formula we achieved was adapt to achieve. We knew that these were our testing times and we were compelled to meet the difficult demands arising from the pandemic conditions. And our institutions were not accustomed to this type of situation. But we had to tackle this with rigorous requirements, with courage and confidence. And adjusting to unprecedented circumstances was a difficult task for us. The institution had to get used to an unfamiliar situation. Till that time, we were so much familiar with chalk and talk methodology. Suddenly, we replaced with share screen, share photos, share videos in a virtual classroom. Equipping skills to the current crisis or the pandemic crisis in the most essential was a thing in this context. So just to pep up everybody, I would like to think we all decided we were all inspired by the story of giraffe. I remember learning at my school that giraffe, which roamed the earth billions of years ago, did not resemble their contemporary counterparts. The graceful creature we know once had a shorter neck. It was the need to feed that forced giraffes to crane their necks upwards to access the leaves of the trees. Stretching and straining kept them from starving. Eventually, the giraffe not only escaped the extinction but became the tallest terrestrial mammal on the planet. I try to imagine these beautiful beasts evolving through the ages with their necks gradually growing longer, confronted with the challenge. Whatever they might have been, giraffes rose to the occasion. Consequently, their descendants are still around, delighting us with their stately splendor. Like those intrepid animals of the past, the institution, the Oxfordites, we decided we should strive to survive as intelligent and ingenious human beings. However, the institutions to go further with this pandemic condition. So we were need to adapt. I should thank Campus.Technology during those times for hand-holding us during the pandemic situation. So in the beginning, I remember on March 25th, we had an online meeting through Skype with the puja guiding us how to take online class. But actually, because of the NAC stress, we were also well equipped with ICT. We had the LMS in place, but we were not experimenting so much. But pandemic condition made us to take online classes very nicely. After taking the online classes very confidently, the next step was for us to conduct the assessment examination, because most of the autonomous colleges, they were in their end semester examination. Since I stressed, we did not even had completed one internal test also. So we were thinking now how to do this examination, conduct the assessment. And Oxford College of Science, where we have all the categories of combination. We run with 13 UG combination, which comprises of both physical science and life sciences. So normally our question papers, even for the internal examination, we have three sections, one with a multiple choice and other with a descriptive and a numerical part. So we were thinking how to prepare the question paper and how the students will write the answer. Is it possible, or shall we wait for the lockdown to get over? But we needed to assess the students. So what is the outcome of our online teaching also was very necessary. So then we took again the help of our partner, that is Campus.Technology, and we had to create the question. I remember I was a coordinator of that examination, hour-longs of meeting, and how to prepare the question paper in three sections. And it had to contain the images also. So our technology partner assured us it can be done easily. Next was the problem with it has to work with a low bandwidth. We know that our all undergraduate students cannot afford to have a laptop, but they are having a mobile. Is it possible with a low internet connection? Then immediately again Campus.Technology came for a help, and they developed a special app which was first used at Oxford College of Science, I should say. It is specifically designed to work on low bandwidth with high latency environment, what the students would be commonly facing in most part of the country. And faculties could upload the regular question paper to the portal with the text as well as images. Now the app has even upgraded where we could post even the video questions, and they have the option, and each faculty were made responsible, and they had an option of enabling or disabling the question. Whoever was the question paper setter, they could enable the question just 2 minutes before the examination. And the students, we also created one helpline group, like if any student had any issue in viewing the question paper or any difficulty, so they could post the queries to us, and with the Campus.Technology people and our examination,
I think Pooja Gayatri has muted herself.
No, I think there is some network problem.
Okay.
I think the video is also stuck. Gayatri, ma'am?
yeah, can you hear
Yeah.
me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you now.
Yeah. So if the university wanted us, because university threw us a challenge to all the Bangalore University affiliated colleges, whether they can come out with any model of online examination. I think Oxford took the first step with the help of Campus.Technology to conduct this online examination very, very efficiently. During this time, I faced two problems. That is, Jammu Kashmir students could not have the network connection. So they called us, and I got a letter, the boy going to the commissioner office and sending me the mail that he cannot appear for the examination. What will you do with my internal assessment? So I created one more examination room using the WhatsApp call, and he could write the examination and we could evaluate him. And the second time, that time only, the flood situation was very bad in West Bengal and northeastern state. So some of the students could not upload the answers. So again, with a new question paper, after 10 days, we created re-examination. And I can say proudly, 100% of our UG students took the online examination very seriously, and with the low bandwidth, we could do that. And now we are heading towards our PG internal examination with much more modification in the apps, and where we will be doing live proctoring also. We have planned to conduct two more examination and train them with the online mode, etc. So I think I'm very grateful to Campus.Technology in the implementing whatever came into our mind, and they really helped us during this pandemic situation. And there were questions like that in the just in the portal just now. I saw that how can you ensure that the students are not online, whether they are listening to the class? I would like to mention that we have used a different platform to conduct online classes, such as Zoom, Cisco, but now we are using a portal which is designed by the Campus.Technology Jitsi. Once the students log into the Jitsi and when they listen to our classes, they cannot leave the Jitsi app. They cannot go and check their WhatsApp messages or Google or anywhere. They have to be in the virtual classroom only. They cannot go. That is a new feature which has been added, and it is a very good feature. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri. As you said, adapting is the key for achievement. I think that's what the Oxford experience teaches us. Hats off to you for having taken, because your position was much more challenging than the autonomous colleges, because we at least had finished our semester, but you were bang in the middle of your semester. And also the fact that you have students coming from different parts of India, that also must have been very challenging. But Gayatri, how, given the fact that you're from a science background, I will again go back to the same question which I posed to Wajid. How do you ensure that the hands-on training, that the practical classes would be
Yes.
giving your students, how do you ensure that is still
Yes,
achieved?
I being an electronics teacher, I have the huge benefit of utilizing virtual labs. Actually,
Okay.
Oxford College of Science, we are a member of virtual labs, which is given by the IIT Mumbai, and we are the registered users. Where even it was a part of the, even if the students were in the college, we would give them the chance to use the virtual lab. For example, when the student is in the lab, I'm giving an example of using a diode characteristic, and usually teacher will say don't give more than 5 volts, the diode will get spoiled. Then one student came to me and said, let it get spoiled, I want to try it out, I want to give 10 volts. Then I said, come, we will do the virtual lab where you go on giving, increasing the voltage, and that electronic component getting blasted, they would feel very happy. So we used all the virtual labs. In addition to that, all my life science faculty, when the lockdown was relaxed a little bit, they came to the college and they recorded the videos of all the practical experiments, and we posted in a different group. And using certain apps, like we conducted Viva session, 5 students would come and we would show some video picture, and we will say, if this is the condition, what will be the output? We tried our level best to do that, ma'am.
Congrats, Gayatri. That's great. Gayatri, my other question to you is, I think this has also been a period of a huge amount of mental stress and strain for the student community. Of course, even for the teaching faculty, but I think more for the student community. So at your institution, how have you reached out to the students?
Yes, and our college is like we have a very good structure where the structure goes like this: principal, IQAC coordinator. Under IQAC, we have 4 deans, and Dean Academics was on her toes, and she would contact every class and she would take the feedback of the students regarding these online classes, because a huge amount of portion was left out. So she took the feedback, and wherever she found that the students were not happy, she went and sat in the virtual classroom and she found out what best can be done. And under the deans, we have 4 main coordinators: physical science, life science, then again class teachers, and then there were mentors. We had a group of 20 students and 1 teacher, and we made it a point that at least once in 15 days every teacher will speak. For example, Jammu Kashmir students were stressed, and there were some Assam student was left out in the PG, food was not given. Immediately our NSS team came to the rescue. We shifted him to the Oxford hostel. I should proudly say that Oxford management kept their hostel open for any student who had the difficulty. So we shifted them the PG accommodation, and we kept them in a secured environment. So we provided the food, shelter, and plus free internet connectivity was provided for the
That's
students.
very nice.
In the meantime, our principal made a video and she spoke, circulated that to all the parents, and she requested for the parents, they should provide enough of data connectivity to the students. Otherwise, parents had a wrong impression: if they provided data, then children will be wasting on
Just, yeah.
YouTube there. So she told, and she empathized with the parents also. Some of them had lost the jobs, and she said now there is no traveling expense or book expense, so please give them for the data. And it was well appreciated by the parents also, and they took it seriously.
Very good, Gayatri. Congratulations for all the efforts
Thank
taken
you
at
so much.
from your college management and, of course, principal and you. Gayatri, there's a question here which talks about how the mentors were able to have a personal interaction with students who were dull or, who had learning challenges. So now in this virtual mode, how are we going to reach out to those students who are slow learners?
Yes, and from the beginning, we had this always a discussion that we prepare three types of assignment. One is a tougher one, like HOTS question, higher order thinking question, moderate level, and easier level. First, we would give the easier levels, and if any student is not able to perform that easy question, and teachers took extra classes, because what happened, we convinced the teachers their workload also has been decreased because there is no practical classes, so they could take more classes on mentoring of the students. And if they do well in that easier setup, then they will get the moderate question. If they're doing moderate question, they're getting the HOTS. So everybody were taken care of.
And how are you tracking the quality of your classes in terms of teaching and learning?
The constant feedback was taken, online feedback were taken using Campus.Technology, and it was analyzed immediately. And parents were also, we could meet certain parents, and if there is any grievances, we could take it. And other than that also, our Dean Academics had created one email ID, and three good students of the class, good, I shouldn't say all are good, the best performing students and three underperformers had to send her the feedback, and she analyzed and she took care of that. And in addition to that, we took help of our alumni students who are doing well in their fields or in research laboratory, where they could give their special lectures to us. And in addition to that, there were some Bangalore University professors of statistics department who came with us, who partnered with us, and they allowed our students to attend their classes. We exchanged our notes, we exchanged our project ideas. And I should mention, we run a PG course. All our fourth semester students, most of them have projects which is for either 100 marks or 200 marks. But our college had started only in the month of February, so student couldn't complete. But now we requested all the companies, so they have got all online internship, virtual internship they are doing, hope to complete it in a very successful way. And I would like to add one more thing. We conducted, all department conducted the fest, also online fest, and students are happy. Not only teaching, we conducted everything. I could just tell certain competition like mask designing competition, mandala drawing, rangoli drawing, cooking, singing, everything came.
I'm glad, Gayatri. There's no full stop to higher educational institutions if they are in a position to innovate, reinvent like the way you have done. So we've had all our panel members share their thoughts about what their experience has been in these periods of pandemic. So we'll throw open the floor now and we will take questions
Suma
if there
ma'am,
are.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I also want to know your views on the same. So we thought, from your college, what you've
Okay.
been doing, just a few words, if you could please.
Yeah, thank you, Pooja, for asking that question, because as I was listening to all of them, I also felt there was so much that I could also share. And of course, there's a great deal of commonality in whatever we have been doing. So as I could be repetitive because most of it has already been told by the other panel members. Definitely, it was a rude shock for us when we had to just shut down. But luckily for us, we were through with our semester. So that was the saving grace. But we were heading towards our end semester exam. But with the full stop on the examination process itself, the question was, how do we move ahead? So as some of the other panel members said, it was definitely the initiative of the management and the leadership out in the college, which decided that we need to adapt to the new changes. So that meant all the faculty went through training for the online platform that could be used. We were taught about how we could develop our e-content, which was so important in this new mode of learning. So we were put through some training sessions for that, and then effort was made to reach out to the students. But I think even during the lockdown, which we complete lockdown that we had in the month of April and part of May, departments and mentors made it an effort to reach out to the student community. Thanks to a very robust mentoring system, the mentors were in touch with the students, and even in my college, we have a very large percentage of students who come from non-Karnataka. So it was very essential for us to reach out to those students community who were feeling a bit lost in terms of ensuring and comforting that, look, the college is there. If you have any issues, you could get back. Just like as what Father Victor shared his experience, our management took the lead in terms of reaching out to the migrant community. We kudos to the management which took this initiative. They ensured that there was a regular supply of food available to a large number of migrant families. And students and faculty also pitched in this in terms of contributing monetarily and non-monetarily, and ensuring that this initiative of the management reached out to a large section. As we decide, as there seemed to be, no coming back to normalcy very soon, we also took the lead in ensuring that we started off with our online classes. So it's been a month now since we've had our online classes for the second years and the third years. It's been a huge learning experience for me personally as a teacher, because it meant that I had to adapt to a new technology, and I'm sure most of my colleagues would tell you the same. But the good thing is we seem to be sailing through, so that's nice. We've also ensured that our students got familiarized with the platform that we were using, which is Microsoft Teams, and it's been going on pretty well for us. As we ended the 1 month of our online classes, we have also gone now into the feedback mode. So we are collecting the feedback to understand what are the challenges or issues or concerns that the students have with regard to this. And about the science, as Vajid was sharing, yes, the virtual labs is what we are probably going to head into. We are also looking at recording the practical sessions for the science departments, and playing that. Yes, all our sessions are getting recorded, and students have access to all that. There is emphasis on sharing of material among all the students. And of course, as Gayatri was making a mention, now this is a new normal, right? And we just need to go along with it. So that has also meant that we are having our student union investiture on. We are going to head towards our Kal Week, which is the cultural festival within the college among all the students. So we are going to be having that very shortly. So I think as an institution, we are just getting ourselves adapted to this new mode, and we have done it pretty successfully. And I think what is very important is we are also aware of the fact that there may be some lacunae in this, and that is what we need to address. So the very fact that we are willing to innovate, reinvent, and go ahead is something which is very important for me at Mount Carmel College. Thank you so much. Pooja, can I take some questions now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. There is, I think there is a question from Pushpa Reddy saying that examination should be online or offline in this pandemic situation. If you ask me, I think we have to go back and ask the students, because they are the ones who have to, take a call on this. Of course, the faculty is also involved, but at least from my college perspective, what I can say, majority of the students seem to be opting for online exam, given the need to be more cautious and given more priority to be for your health. But I would let the other panel members talk about this. Vajid is probably the best one to tell about this, because he's also heading towards an online exam very soon. Vajid?
Hello, yeah. I would say online is more safer now, because the disease is not out of the world. It's still there. So, we can't risk again to get the students on the campus, and, then again, the lot of issues might go on if we get the students on campus. So online is going to be a better way to conduct. Okay. At the same time, yes, we need to be aware of things just like the network issues and all of that has to be also addressed, have to be kept in mind. Again, our college, what we have done, as Father was also telling, we have sent the Google Sheet across. Each mentor is doing that with the students to check as to we are taking their consensus as to what sort of examination do you want. So we have given the option like, yes, online is what we're going to be conducting. In case you're not happy with the online, you could also give it in whatever writing. Say, I don't want to be a part of online. Once things get back to normalcy, you can come back to the campus and write the regular exams. So, we have kept this option open for the students. But I guess most of the students will be happy to go online. As to why do they want to, delay the process furthermore, and then, all of that. So I think online is going to be a good thing as of now, because everything is happening online. So why not the examination? But, we just need to be a little careful. And as Gayatri Ma'am was also telling about the proctoring and all might should be in place, but how effectively again is what we need to be looking at. But
I completely echo Wajid's sentiments, because we are also in the same boat. We use the survey method to find out how many students would opt for the online or offline. And in our case, nearly 85% decided to go in with the online exam. Yes, there will be certain challenges, but I think that is something we all need to learn to address later on as we move. Gayatri, what about in your case? Are you heading towards an online exam?
Since we are affiliated, to Bangalore University,
Go ahead, Gayatri.
Gayatri, yes, please continue. Yes.
Yes, since we are affiliated to Bangalore University, we have to go for offline examination only.
Okay.
But we would like to go for online, but the university is insisting on offline examination because they are not very sure whether rural area colleges will be able to cater for that examination. And we are going to have examination only for the final semester, that is final year BSc and final year MSc. Others will be promoted as per UGC guidelines.
I think that holds good for all of us, Gayatri. Yes, the exams for the final year. Wajid, there's a question for you. It is a good option to go with Mentimeter, Slido to break the monotony of a class. If the student is not equipped to use these, would you suggest any other mode?
As I said, like, that's just one in between that I kind of use. So as you also have this Flipgrid, you have Edpuzzle. There are a lot of them. Okay, I just mentioned a few. So again, it's up to the teacher to be a little creative, up to the teacher to be a little innovative and see, because each one can understand the class that they're handling. So once I learn about them, then, I can play around with the way I kind of, do it. I also do it like, in the class without these, you just start the class, might be, after a few classes of yours. So I would just prepare a few questions and put them in the order, whatever. And then I would just start off like, question register number 1 or the names. I would have written it somewhere on my thing, and I would just ask questions one after the another. Okay, so that by the response that I would get, I would know whether the learning is happening or not. And also at the same time, some pictures, some videos that I would share with them, and get the response from them. So I wouldn't say one thing would be ideal. So you'll have to be mixing and matching things to see that your teaching is becoming more effective, is what I would say.
Before I take some more questions, this is a question to Dr. Samuel, Wajid, Gayatri. I think Father Victor has left. Is he around still, Wajid? Is Father Victor around?
Yes, I'm there. I'm here.
Okay. So maybe I should address this question to Father Victor and Dr. Samuel. I think our entire discussion has been so student-centric, right? I mean, that's very nice because we are meant to be thinking from the student's perspective. But what about the teaching faculty? Because this has not been easy days for us also, right? The transformation has been so drastic. As I told at the beginning, we are all digital migrants, so it's been a huge challenge for us to overcome our technological inhibitions. It's heartening that all institutions who are involved today in our panel have gone ahead and trained their faculty to some extent. But what about the other concerns which have come in? Like, some of us from Bangalore, if we've been reading this story that how in Mysore, a lot of private colleges have sent back faculty 50 plus home because they are not in a position to adapt to this fast changing world of education in the digital mode. So Father Victor, how have you reached out to your faculty and ensured in terms of reducing their mental stress and also ensuring that it's okay, it's going to be it's a challenge to learn, but you will reach there? How do you ensure that to your teaching faculty?
As I told you, creative thinking, not only for the students, the lecturer, the teacher has to be a creative thinker.
Yes,
unless he or she is a creative thinker, he cannot pass it on to the students to be a creative thinker first. So as the students are making also this crisis creatively, alternatively, the teacher as well is challenged to adopt to alternative situations. Therefore, the teacher has to adopt to new avenues of life and lead the students to do the same. Therefore, if the student, teacher on the other hand, undergo certain stress and all that, we've got certain platforms to address them. And we've got even staff counselors, the trained Jesuit staff counselors are there. And there are various platforms where they can express. On the other hand, a teacher is not a stagnant water, rather flowing water. A fountain where wisdom flows automatically, continuously.
True. I agree with you, Father. A teacher is an eternal student. That's the reality, and that's what I think we all need to accept. And it's also very important that managements are reaching out to the teaching community in terms of, building on their skill sets and ensuring that. I think I think there's some disturbance. Okay. Okay. I would now reach out to Dr. Samuel. Dr. Samuel?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir,
Yes.
my question to you is,
yes.
you have heard experiences from city colleges,
Yes.
but if you have to replicate these same experiences in Meghalaya or Northeast,
Yes.
how do you think it's possible to do it, given the limitations and the constraints within which you operate?
See, one thing I could gather from the discussion is this, that many of the panelists here are principals of autonomous colleges. And being autonomous, you have the liberty to decide, to take decision on policy matters of the institutions. But in Northeast, we have, I think, only 2 autonomous colleges. One is in Nagaland and one is in Assam. And the rest are affiliated. And because of being affiliated, the decision is taken by the university, for that matter. When it comes to examination, when it comes to online examination or offline examination, decision is taken by the university. So it is not possible to gather things from the autonomous colleges and make it possible for the affiliated colleges in the Northeast, be any other state, maybe Mizoram or Nagaland or Meghalaya or Assam. So that is one problem here. And what I could gather is this, that since we are majority affiliated college, so it is very important to have a discussion like this in the panel among the affiliated colleges, and especially if you could arrange the discussion like this among the affiliated colleges of Northeast. Let them come forward and share their experiences, then we can understand how we can go forward. Otherwise, now here in the discussion, if you talk about Bangalore, if you talk about Karnataka, you talk about Mumbai, then we cannot just make it possible to apply everything in the Northeast. This is my sum up.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Samuel. Experiences of a metro city colleges are very different from probably Northeast or a Jammu and Kashmir. So we do need to have more conversations, because that's where the real learning would happen. Pooja, are there any other questions to any of the panel members?
Yes, I think there is one question here. So someone is asking, how, this blended learning that we are talking about, how will faculties and how are they going to cope up? Because we have so many faculties, we have senior faculties who are not very comfortable with using technology and teaching, and there are some subjects which also involves like virtual, right now labs and everything. I think there was a concept of virtual lab also, I think Gayatri ma'am was talking about. So how will other faculties cope up with this rapid change in teaching learning? We're talking about students, we're talking about everything else, but how will faculties cope up with this rapid change?
Faculty members need to adapt. As Father from St. Joseph said, they are the creative thinkers, and I think with our past experience we can adapt easily, because we know the theory part of it. Only technology we need to get the hands-on training. With the different service providers we can get adapted and we can achieve it.
Yeah, I think it's also on the service providers, to make it as
Yes.
user friendly as possible. I mean, we also need to change according to, what is happening in teaching learning. I think it's also on us. I think we will also take that responsibility to make it as easy as possible for the faculties to use different interfaces and platforms. I think, yeah.
Father Victor, I have a question for you. When normalcy sets in and everything is back on track, would you still favor using of this blended learning idea?
Surely, that's very much part of life. Even in our classrooms, we used to use such facilities. All our classrooms are ICT enabled. Now, we have to adopt more and more. We do not know the situation. Only, okay, this is a pandemic. Maybe some greater thing might come in.
Absolutely.
Therefore,
You're right.
we have to adapt to times. We have to, as our body does adapt to various environments, various times, and our education must teach us not only to teach the students, but we must undergo first change and bring in about change among the students.
Absolutely, Father. I think we all have to realize that change is something eternal. And as you said, we need to brace ourselves to, may not be this pandemic, but it could be something else. So blended learning, the flipped classroom ideas are here to stay forever. Pooja, anything else you want to ask any of the panel members?
I think there were a few questions previously also, so ma'am, let me just go back and see. I think, okay. The first initial questions, I think. Yeah, I mean, they were asking how, how do we actually get the satisfaction of teaching learning, as many of our subjects require diagrams, geometry, derivations, which we really find it difficult in online teaching. So I think that was one of the questions initially that was asked. So, yeah, Suma ma'am, yes, I think that is the question that they were asking. So
I think
can we
that
go-
has been answered by Wajid also
yes,
earlier,
I think, yeah.
when Gayatri also for that matter, where they did speak about the need to be, it's up to the teachers how creative they could be and how they could ensure that whether it's diagrams or whether it's the mathematical notations, all those they will have to adapt. Of course, we know there's a whiteboard. There are so
Right.
many other things that we could experiment with. Gayatri, would you like to add on to that, please?
Yeah, that's what, using a virtual classroom. Like we took it like a real classroom where we switched on the other camera of a mobile phone and we cooked the white sheet and we went on deriving the derivations of various physics or electronics. And we were feeling that we are conducting classes and we were getting the response of the students also. And in between, we made the students to switch on their videos and we were asking them some quiz questions and it was successfully conducted.
To add on, can I just
Yes,
add
yes,
on?
Wajid, please.
Yes, I also, yeah, as you said, whiteboard is there of the Microsoft Teams, you could use it. Otherwise, you also have the tabs these days, the Vicom tabs and all of that. You could just connect it. Even if I open the slide, I can, when question comes and all, for me, the subject that I teach, I can't teach with just PowerPoint and all of that. I just need to draw and explain them and all of that. So what I normally do is, yes, like, even with my PowerPoint, I would just explain a little, open a free open slide and all. So when you write it on the tab, students get to see whatever. So you could use different colors, different variations and all of that. So, entire process. And when I just click on a kind of a review, again, the entire thing would just come as sort of an animation and all of that. So there are those things that are also available. Yeah. If you have a little good laptop these days, you also have a lot of features and all of that. But otherwise, even you can manage with what you do. So there are a lot of innovations that I come across, even teachers who have just a normal camera, there are videos where you could just keep it on your kind of a glass slide, you just keep the camera there, just keep a white sheet below that, and then you can start drawing out of that.
That's
So we just
interesting.
invent things like, I don't have a expensive gadget, but I can still make it happen with a normal thing. So I just have two dabbas. I just keep one glass, like even from a refrigerator, I can pull one glass door. I just keep that. And then on that, I keep a cell phone and I turn on the glass. So the video students can see. So I keep a white sheet of a paper and I just kind of drawing there, whatever that I want to explain and also students get to see that. So if you don't have that gadget, you could use this. If there are ways that you can think of doing, but I use this Vicom, which helps my teaching a little better. They get connected.
Wajid, as Father Victor said, it all depends on how creative we are and how out of the box we can think. Okay, just to sum up the whole discussion, I think the most important thing is that power is gained only by sharing knowledge and not by hoarding it. And that's what I have realized today from all the panel members. It's wonderful to hear their experiences, because for each of us who are part of this particular webinar, I'm sure there's some learning that has gone. But I think the focus primarily is on the fact, first of all, management and academic leadership matters the most. It is the academic leaders who are now going to drive the change, and they are the ones who will ensure that educational institutions are able to adapt to this changing environment, taking on board all the stakeholders, whether it's your teaching staff, the support staff, the student community, the alumni, and the parents. That's the key factor. So the role of an academic leader becomes much more important in these periods. Secondly is the fact that we have to ensure that there is some amount of investment in terms of equipping the teachers to brace themselves to this new world order of teaching learning. It's heartening. Almost all the panel members who are there did speak of the fact that their institutions have trained their faculty. But I hope this is a message to all the other institutions that please invest in training your faculty, because at the end of the day, it's your faculty which has to deliver, and you need to equip them. And remember, faculty themselves are finding this situation very difficult to cope with. So a little help from management and educational institutions in terms of investing on their learning would make a big difference. Thirdly, I think is the fact that this is a mode of learning that is there to exist for good. Although we might get back to our offline classes, but we do know that the blended learning concept is something that is going to be here to stay. So it's very important for teachers to again be more creative and think out of the box and see what are the innovations that they can adopt and bring into their classrooms. Because now, with virtual classrooms being a reality, it's not just about the PPTs. We need to go beyond that. We need to make our classes much more interactive. We need to make our classes much more interesting for the student community. Lastly, I think is the fact that education is for life. I would like to end with what Father Victor said. And that education for life is something that we in higher educational institutions should not forget. In our zeal of taking our classrooms into the houses of our students, we should not just be on a mode of just finishing our syllabus and heading towards examination. We have to look at ways and means of engaging our students, ensuring that the so-called activities, whether it's the extracurricular, the community outreach activities, continue even in this virtual mode, because that is what contributes to their overall holistic development. So thank you, Pooja, and thank you to all the panel members who are a part of this very interesting discussion. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, there has been a great deal of learning. Personally, there's been a great deal of learning for me, and I hope all the participants also feel the same. Thank you to Campus.Technology for having initiated this webinar. We look forward to having many more like this. Thank you, Father Victor. Thank you, Dr. Samuel. Thank you, Dr. Gayatri. Thank you, Dr. Vajid, and have a good day.
Before we sign off, for all the participants to collect your certificates, I am posting the registration link for collecting your details and email ID. If you could fill that up, we will be sending the certificates, participation certificates, to your email ID directly. Please do fill it up, and also provide your feedback. There is a feedback form also attached. So we request all the participants to fill up the feedback form as well, so that we can also process the certificates along with it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists. Thank you.
Suma Singh for moderating it really well. So I was really happy about the session, being a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajit. See you.
Thank
Ajit,
you,
take
Suma.
care. Bye. Thank you, Gayatri. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Gayatri ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
Father, thank you very much for joining. And Samuel, sir, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.